Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. God has a duty and man has a duty. And it is up to us to learn what man's duty is. God's duty is to protect and sustain his creation. He is the great nourisher. He is the great creator. And he gives unto us and takes care of us. We sometimes believe that we are taking care of ourselves, but the more we look into the matter, the more we realize what's going on around us, the more we realize that control is not in our hands, that control is in God's hands. Now, there is a conflict between man and God. And this conflict exists when man thinks he's in control. This conflict exists when man thinks he is the doer. Because as man believes he is the one that makes things happen, he suppresses the truth that's within him, and he suppresses Allah's doing on his behalf. So what is it that man's duty is? God's duty is to protect, sustain, nourish, and create. Man's duty is to lose the eye. Man's duty is to give up the self. Man's duty is to end the separations. Man's duty is to end the differences. Man's duty is to give up the mind and give up desire and give up the physical visions. And as man does this, then Allah comes in and comes into control and does what Allah needs to do. This state of collapsing, surrendering, giving up to Allah happens to everyone, whether they believe in God or not, at some time or another. My sheikh used to say, when the atheist is driving a car and he sees headlights coming at him, the first thing he says is, "Oh my God." And it's like that. We all have these "oh my God" moments when we begin to understand that control is not in our hands, that control is in God's hands. Now, we worry about what is in the world. The mind is like a donkey. The mind carries burdens. Donkeys carry burdens. So each of us has this donkey inside of us that carries the world. And this donkey becomes tired from carrying the world. And what does the donkey do when the burden is taken off him at night? Well, all day he's being bitten by various bugs. So at night, he tries to retire into somewhere where he can scratch his back and get the itch off him and escape for a few minutes from the burden that he has. Well, what does the mind do when it gets attacked by its burdens? where does the mind find relief? And the mind finds relief by entering into states of torpor. The mind will look for sexual relief. The mind will look for relief from intoxicants. The mind will look for torpor that cloud the mind so that the mind no longer has to deal with the burdens that it's carrying. A sheikh was sitting with a group of dervishes, and he pulled a silk scarf out of his pocket. And he said to them, "What is it?" And they all said it was a silk scarf. And they were very surprised to see him with a silk scarf. And then he took the scarf and began to tie knots in it. Finally, he tied 5 different knots in it. And he said, "Now what's this?" And they said, "This is a silk scarf with knots in it. It's not like the scarf you already you had before. It's now a knotted scarf." And he said, "And how do you get the knots out of the scarf?" And one dervish screamed out, "You pull it." Well, the sheikh said, "Obviously, that's not the answer. It just gets tighter if you pull it." And then another one said, "Well, you have to bring the scarf close to you. You have to examine the knots carefully. You have to understand how the knots were formed. And then after you understand how the knots were formed, then you can untie the knots." And the sheikh said, "That's right. Now, all of you, go and meditate and try to figure out how to untie your knots." And it's like that. We cannot untie our knots unless we come close to them and look at them and try to understand how they were formed. We can't untie our knots by drinking liquor or by using drugs or by sexual torpor. We can't untie our knots by just going in a different direction and ignoring them. We have to learn to face our knots, face the difficulties that we have, and try to figure out how to resolve those difficulties. There are many different people in the world, and many different people have many different points of view and many different aspects. The fruit on a tree are not all uniform. Some fruits are longer, some fruits are shorter, some fruits are round, some fruits aren't quite round, some fruits never grow at all. Some never make it from the blossom into being a fruit. And why is this? It's not because of the tree. The tree gives the same sustenance to every fruit. What happens is the wind blows when the fruit is in bloom, and the pollen gets distributed by the wind in different ways. And depending on how the pollen gets to a specific bloom and guts and becomes that fruit, depends on how it grows. It's the same way with humans. We all have different parents, and our parents have different karma, and our parents have different minds, and our parents have different ideas. And when conception occurs, the blood of the parents goes into the blood of the child. The mind and the wind that blows through the mind goes into the child. So children are born sometimes with difficulties, sometimes with handicaps, and sometimes with illogical teachings that's brought to them by the parents. In order to find the truth, each of us has to work on ourselves individually to try and understand reality. We can't look back and say, if this, if that, if only. We have to look forward. We have to have faith, certitude, and determination, and we have to look forward. We have to look forward into where are we going? And the question then is, are we looking at our destiny? Are we trying to figure out our destiny? Are we trying to write the story of our life? There are two stories that you can write. One is a story that involves the elements. It's a story of our physical nature. It's the story of the things that we interact with. It's a story of our possessions. It's a story of what we have. It's a story of what we've accumulated. It's a story of what we have power over. And many of us want our destiny changed. And how do we want our destiny changed? Usually, we want more things to have power over. We want more things to have possession of. We want more things that we can control. We want more personal power. That's one form of destiny. That destiny and that search for destiny in that direction about having more, accumulating more, becoming richer, becoming more famous, becoming more powerful, is a story that disappears. It's a story that has no reality to it. It's a story that is elemental, and just like everything else that's elemental, it comes into being and then it loses being. It comes into creation and then it goes from creation. But there's another story. This story is the story of our Creator. If we want to know that story, and if we want to know how we came from Him and who we truly are, then that story is a story that can lead to eternity and can lead to eternal life. That is the story of coming to know our Lord. And we come to know our Lord by coming to know ourselves. Each of us has two bodies. We have this elemental body. We have this body that is made up of earth, air, fire, water, and ether. And this body has an agreement between the elements that they will cooperate with each other for a certain period of time and keep this body alive. But that agreement between the elements that are in your body only lasts for a certain amount of time. And that's why bodies dissipate. I just read an article trying to figure out why people begin to die in their mid to late 80s. And it said that the body begins to mutate. Things begin to happen within the body that it doesn't hold together the way it held together when you were young, and then it begins to dissipate. Well, we all know that part of being born is death. We all understand it. We have all seen it, but we can't realize it because people can't see their own death, can't see or even comprehend a world without themselves in it. It's interesting when you listen to some of the leaders of countries and their points of view. To them, their country is the most important thing in the world. And without that, the world is of no purpose. These kinds of things have recently been said by some of the leaders. And in order to protect themselves, they've started wars against other countries because of their paranoia of their own importance. But what we have to realize is that we need to discover and we need to look at this other body within us. And we need to know what this other body is within us and what is this destiny of this other body within us. Well, this other body within us is made up of rays of light that have come from our Lord. And we call these rays of light the soul. And the soul is that part of us that is our light body. Now, our physical body suppresses our light body and doesn't let it come forward, doesn't let it become what it's capable of becoming, and we sensually lose touch with it. How do we get in touch with it? How do we get to know it? And how do we allow it to be the major part of who we are, which is in fact what it is? And that's done by suppressing the physical aspects of ourselves and losing them, losing those things within us that make ourselves unique, losing that attitude within us that makes ourselves unique, losing the egocentric view of things. As we understand that this physical body is temporary, and as we come to truly know that, truly believe that, and truly work on understanding our light body, we begin to change, because many different parts of us begin to change. As our light body becomes more important in our understanding of things, as our light body becomes our focus shifts from the elemental destiny to the light destiny. The Bawa used to say at times that people go for their horoscope, and the horoscope deals with your elemental self. And you can predict what's going to happen to your elemental self through the horoscope. But once you've lost the attachment to the elemental self, the horoscope no longer has an effect on you, because you are not the elemental self, and you are not looking for destiny through the elemental self. Now you're looking for understanding through the light body, through that other portion of yourself. And that happens when the monkey disappears, the monkey of the mind, when the dog disappears, the dog of desire, when the physical visions disappear, when your joy is no longer dependent on what you have, what you think you need, and what you work at obtaining. Your joy comes from somewhere else. Your joy comes from a different place. And to do this, we have to give up so many things that we've learned, and so many things that we've accepted as truth, and realize that they are only stepping stones to reality as opposed to reality. In the ocean, God created fish, and these fish have been provided for in the ocean and given their food in the ocean. And then men go and they pull these fish out of the ocean. They use various methods to pull the fish out of the ocean. They have nets and they have rods and they have all kinds of different ways to pull fish out of the ocean. And why do they pull the fish out of the ocean? For their own benefit. They're going to get something from pulling the fish out of the ocean. So they pull the fish out of the ocean and they either dry the fish or they freeze the fish or they fillet the fish and they sell fresh fish or dried fish or frozen fish. But they do it to feed someone's hunger, and they do it for the benefit of other people. Like this, the religions cast their nets into Allah's ocean of grace, and they pull men out of this ocean. And then they begin to fill their head with ideas about what the truth is and who they should listen to. And these people that are doing this in order to promote some agenda that they have. And usually that agenda is to listen to what the religious leaders tell you. Often the religious leaders are tied into the government, and the religious leaders are selling the agenda of the government. So what the government wants, the religion says is true. For instance, the government is in a war. The religion will tell you, this is a holy war. And because it's a holy war, if you die fighting in this war, you will go immediately to heaven. There was a war recently where one of the leaders, the religious leaders of the country, gave everyone a plastic key and told them that if they died, they would have a direct key to get into heaven. And I didn't make this up. This actually happened. We need to escape from these religions, and we have to enter into truth. Gandhi once said, I used to think religion was truth, but now I understand that truth is religion. Just because a religion says something doesn't make it reality. Haq, God's reality, is the only reality. And religious rituals and religious ideas are not necessarily reality. They're not necessarily truth. We need to enter into a path where we are looking for truth. And we have to understand that to find truth, we have to give up everything that isn't truth, no matter who says it, no matter how it is said, and no matter where it is said. There was once a dervish with a group of his disciples, and they were praying. And the head dervish felt there was something missing in the prayer. And there was a shepherd boy nearby who was very free and very joyous. And everything he did on behalf of God. And he ran over to the group and he was holding a whistle. And all of the disciples tried to shoo him away. And he ran in circles and finally nuzzled up to the head dervish, the sheikh, and he started blowing his whistle. And all of a sudden, all the prayers ascended. His joy was able to break through whatever was holding things down at that moment. We have to have a kind of joy that is greater than what we have in the world. We need a kind of joy that isn't dependent on what we have in the world. We need a kind of joy that isn't dependent upon the elements of the world, the elemental sources of the world, and the elemental joys of the world. We need to transcend elemental joys. We need to transcend elemental destiny. We need to transcend involvement with the elemental. We have to be able to concentrate on reality and concentrate on the truth. And it has to come to us somehow that the only truth that we have within us is this light body. Yet we have spent an entire lifetime making this elemental body more beautiful, more wealthy, more powerful, and all of these kinds of things. Yet all of this is going to take us nowhere. As a matter of fact, this body that we've given all of this time and effort to is going to become a monster that at the end of days is going to be our enemy, because we have paid more attention to this self than we've paid to our creator. We've paid more attention to this illusory, impermanent manifestation than we've paid to the truth, that we've paid reality less respect than we've given to ourselves. Ourself has become the center of our universe, as if the entire world flowed around us. This understanding has to be broken. Somehow, we have to begin to understand that there's more to life, there's more to truth, there's more to reality than we can see with our eyes. One of the things that has to be given up in order to be able to see the truth is the physical visions. Think of that. To give up the physical visions is one of the most difficult things we can imagine. How can we go through our life without physical visions? Well, there's a hint in there. There's a secret in there. And the secret is that there is another way to see. And we haven't learned that way to see yet. There is a way to be that's different than having a body. Allah is the most powerful force in the universe. Allah is the greatest power in the entire universe. Allah is the creator of the entire universe. He is the sustainer of the entire universe. And he does not have a body. We have bodies, and we think we're special because we have bodies. But we need to realize that these bodies aren't real. These bodies disappear, and there is another existence that is beyond this form. There is another existence that is outside of this form. There is an existence without mind and without desire. There is an existence that's separate from these things, and somehow we have to understand that. We have to begin to know that. But we look at things with our mind. And what does our mind do? It creates glitters. And what are the glitters of the mind? They're illusion. What's the glitter within light? The glitter within light is Allah, and Allah is not illusion. Allah is reality. So as we focus on light, as we meditate on light, as we try to understand light, we can then understand consciousness without form. Love can exist without form. Mercy can exist without form. Mercy can be a vibration. Mercy can be a resonance. Love can be a resonance. We need to understand these resonances. Allah created all of us out of his love, yet he has no body and he has no form. So can we imagine love without form? Can we imagine mercy without form? Can we imagine compassion without form? Well, while we are in this form, it is our obligation to give love, mercy, and compassion to the forms that we see in the world. And at the same time, release ourselves of our attachment to our own form, because it's through love and mercy and compassion that the others of form will have the courage to release themselves from their attachment to their form. The Ketubs, the great teachers, come into this world as manifest from the light. They speak to us from the point of view of the light, not the point of view of the physical form. So all of a sudden, the perspective that's given to us is different than the perspective we're able to form by ourselves. Our perspective is shaped by our ideas, by our mind, by our desires. But imagine a perspective that's shaped by mercy and compassion from the light of Allah. Imagine a perspective that comes, that is transcendent above form. So when you hear that perspective, the truth of that perspective resonates with the truth that is already within you. And then an alteration occurs. The attachment to the body leaves. The attachment to the need for physicality leaves. The attachment to the need for wealth and fame and power leaves, because within the light is all the wealth. Within the light is all the power. Within the light is all the truth. Everything that exists is within the light in non-manifest form. The manifest is an illusion. The manifest is not reality. The reality is the light. And we need to take the road to transfer from that which isn't real, which is this manifest being, to that which is real, which is the light. The light has existed since the beginning. The light was the only thing that existed. And then Allah chose to create form and to create man, with the intention that that man would have Allah's light within him and then understand truth and come back to Allah. So this is our duty. God's duty is to maintain, sustain his creation. Our duty is to lose the I, to lose the ego, to lose all of the separations, to lose all of the distinctions, to lose the attachments to the elemental, and to become at one with that part of us that is at one with reality. God's rays of light are within us. God's truth is within us. We must find those rays of light. We must find that truth, and we must understand everything through the perspective of those rays. And that's why it is said, if you come to know yourself, you will come to know your Lord, because yourself is your Lord. Yourself is your soul. Yourself is your light body. And then your light body returns to the light body that created you and created each of us. May that understanding become clear for us. May our attachment to the world lose its strength. May our need for elemental joy lose its strength. May our need for the torpor of the various kinds of intoxicants that this world has fall away from us. May we become pure so that we can understand the nature of Allah, the nature of light, the nature of his transcendent qualities, and may we become those transcendent qualities. Ameen, Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.